Hi, everyone. My name is Bijan. Thank you for making the time to attend this webinar, Google versus AI. We are going to announce the agenda and our lineup of speakers in about 1 minute, just waiting for the participants to enter the room. So I will check back in here in about 1 minute. Okay, I think we are ready to get started. So thank you everyone for making the time today. We have a list of panelists here who are excited to speak with you about Google versus AI. So at Peakzi, we'll be running a monthly webinar. And this month, we really wanted to talk about Google versus AI because so many of the contractors we are working with right now are mentioning things like pay-per-click isn't what it used to be. Google local service ads is making changes on changes. Where are my leads going? So we wanted to get together a list of speakers. We have Karen Osburn, who is Peakzi's VP of Product and Operations, Bubba Thurman, who is the president of Baker Brothers, and Gus Antos, who is the CEO of Milestone Home Services, and lastly, Amanda Swartz, who is the chief marketing officer of Cascade Services. Each of these speakers will spend about 10 minutes talking about what's going on in their world in terms of Google versus AI. This webinar is being recorded, and in the last 10 to 15 minutes, we will offer a Q&A session where you are free to ask any of these speakers any sort of questions as it relates to the subject. So with that being said, I'm going to pass off this webinar to Karen Osburn. She'll share for about 5 to 7 minutes to set the stage, and then we will go into Amanda as our first panelist. Take it away, Karen.
Thank you, Bijan. As you said, my name is Karen Osburn. I'm VP of Product and Operations here at Peakzi. Most of the conversation around AI right now is about marketing, how it is going to change SEO, ads, lead flow. That's not where the real shift is. AI is changing how your company is being judged before the customer ever calls you. And I say that as someone who's been in the trades for 20 years. I've watched every wave, digital marketing, SEO. This one is different because it's not changing how you get found. It's changing how you get judged. Before, customers did the work. They compared the options, they clicked through your website, they read the reviews if they had time. Now AI is doing that for them. It's already filtering who looks overpriced, who seems inconsistent, who customers trust, and who doesn't even get mentioned. And most companies don't even know what signals they're putting out. Some of you are still investing like Google decides who wins. It doesn't anymore. And here's what is actually happening underneath that. AI is connecting the dots across your business that used to be separate. It's not just looking at your ads or your website, it's looking at your pricing, your reviews, your technician experience, and your response times. That's no longer siloed. It's one story, and AI is deciding whether that story makes sense or not. And what we're seeing across the market right now, we work with hundreds of contractors throughout the US. The companies struggling aren't lacking leads, they're lacking alignment. They're saying one thing in their marketing, pricing another way in the home, and delivering a completely different service in the field. And AI is picking up on that disconnect immediately. The companies that are starting to win, they're not perfect, but they're consistent. What they say, what they charge, and what they deliver actually match. So this isn't a marketing problem, it's an operations problem. Because in an AI world, price isn't what you say, it's what the market believes. Culture isn't internal, it shows up in every home your team walks into. And talent isn't just hiring, it's your reputation in the field. And I'll be direct about this. AI is learning about customers faster than you are. It's reading your reviews, it's interpreting your pricing, it's picking up on the patterns in in homes that your team shows up in, and it's forming a conclusion about your company, whether you're paying attention or not. So when we talk about price transparency, this isn't about whether you list your prices on your website. It's about whether your pricing is feels consistent, aligns with your value, and holds up across every customer interaction. Because if it doesn't, AI will flag that inconsistency before the customer ever calls you. And the same goes for talent. You can't separate hiring from reputation anymore. If your technicians don't communicate well, don't show up consistently, or don't create a strong experience, that doesn't stay internal. That becomes your brand, and AI sees it. And this is exactly where we've been focused on at Peakzi. Not building more marketing tools, but helping companies operate inside this shift. Because this isn't about guessing how you're perceived anymore. It's about structuring what's true about your business so that it's actually understood by customers and by AI. On the pricing side, we've built a transparency layer that instills into your ecosystem on your website and into the AI layer we built around your company. So now your pricing isn't just sitting in a price book or explained differently in every home. It's structured, it's consistent, and it's understood. So when homeowners ask AI for a reliable HVAC company, your pricing doesn't get a red flag. It reinforces the recommendation because AI doesn't just look at your homepage, it looks at patterns, consistency, structure, logic, and whether your pricing actually makes sense across the board. And on the talent side, your technicians aren't behind the scenes anymore. They are the brand. So we've created a way for technicians to claim their profiles, to see what customers are saying about them, how they're perceived, and how they are ranked in their market. Because whether you're tracking it or not, AI is forming that picture. And our role in all of this is to help home service companies see what's actually happening, understand where they're out of alignment, and fix it faster than the market shifts around them. And this market is shifting very quickly because this isn't a marketing adjustment, it's a business shift. And you either get ahead of it or you get filtered out by it. AI is not coming. It is already shaping who gets chosen and who gets ignored. And the companies that win over the next few years won't be the ones who react the fastest. They'll be the ones who align the fastest. Because you can't outspin the shift, you can't outmarket it, you can only out execute it. So as you leave today, the question isn't, what should we try next? It's, where are we out of alignment and how fast can we fix it? Because the companies that answer that honestly are the ones AI will choose, and the ones that won't be a part of the conversation.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Karen. A couple things that stuck out right there. I thought a really strong statement was AI is learning about your customers faster than you are. You can't outspend it, you can't outmarket it, you have to out execute it. A couple really strong points there. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Amanda Swartz. She'll be our first panelist speaking for about 10 minutes. She is also the Chief Marketing Officer of Cascade Services. Thank you so much, Amanda. I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Yeah, and Karen, yeah, I can relate to all of your points. So Cascade, we've got 9 home services brands across the Southeast, and I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the impacts AI is having on the customer journey and really the front end of that customer journey. So from kind of awareness, consideration through lead capture. And I'll start with awareness. So obviously, historically, organic traffic to your website has been critical. I think it still is critical, but we're also seeing a decline in organic traffic across several of our brands as consumers begin to shift how they find out about our businesses. So we're kind of doing 2 different things. We've made and continue to make updates to our existing websites to help with AEO results. And some of the things we've done are, adding FAQs to our website to help us show up in those LLMs when customers are searching. And we consistently post blogs to our site, but we're kind of changing how those blogs are written. We're making them more conversational, and the topics that we're choosing are, questions that we see customers asking. So the blogs will continue to support both SEO, but now also hopefully AEO. And then we are also piloting a couple of Peakzi AI websites across a few of our brands. So we've got several moving parts to help our businesses show up kind of in the awareness stage as customers are researching, the top HVAC companies in their area. And then from a consideration standpoint, it's interesting historically, and we still continue to push Google reviews and the Google business profile and responding to reviews in a timely manner. But obviously things continue to change. I just had a meeting last week with all of our GMs last week, and we kind of did an audit of how many of our businesses have claimed their Yelp profiles, because this, in all fairness, historically has not been a focus for us. But OpenAI, which owns ChatGPT, has kind of formed a relationship with Yelp. So the likes of ChatGPT can start scraping Yelp profiles to pull data into impacting their results. And I don't know about you guys, but all the customers who are not happy seem to go to Yelp. So, in discussion with the GMs, I still want us to push reviews to Google, but we can't completely ignore, and not to say that we have completely ignored Yelp, but we need to give our Yelp profiles a little more kind of TLC as we see this shift happening. So we've got that on our radar screen. So obviously from a consideration standpoint, if customers are searching in Google, you want those great Google reviews, you want your profiles to stand out, be top of the list, and also from an LSA perspective, be top of the list. But the other wild card in consideration, one of many, is Reddit and the role Reddit plays in feeding these LLMs. And it's something that, we're keeping an eye on. Reddit is such a fragmented space. There's a ton of different, and it's unique to each market, right? There's a lot of different threads around the HVAC, asking for HVAC kind of opinions on service providers by market. And it's also, it's a heavy lift in that you need someone to actively monitor those channels on a regular basis and chime in, not try to sell, but provide educational information. So, we haven't done anything yet with Reddit, but we're keeping it on our radar screen. And in some markets, it plays a more important role depending on the demographics. Like we've got a couple of businesses in West Palm, probably not likely using Reddit as much as we see in some of our businesses in Virginia. So it's something that we need to continue to monitor and understand how the LLMs interact with Reddit as consumers go to ChatGPT asking for service provider recommendations. And then on the lead capture front, there's two things that we are keeping tabs on right now. I think maybe many of you know that ChatGPT is piloting sponsored ads with different segments. I don't believe they've launched home services yet, but once it's available, this is something we will absolutely start testing. We will likely allocate, some of our existing marketing dollars to testing sponsored ads within ChatGPT to see if it'll move the needle. And then ChatGPT also announced a partnership with Thumbtack. So we're currently testing lead quality with Thumbtack to see, one, if it's worth the investment outside of that ChatGPT partnership from a lead quality perspective, but I will also be curious to see if that lead quality changes longer term, because the ultimate goal with that partnership is enabling customers all within ChatGPT to not only find a service provider, but then book an appointment within that ChatGPT world through Thumbtack. So, and then add to that is the need for kind of speed to lead and being able to respond to those leads that come in through the likes of Thumbtack. So there's a lot of moving parts to this. It's a lot of stuff that we want to test and are starting to test, but it's an ever-changing world as well. It's hard to keep track of all the changes, but then also where to prioritize, right? Like Reddit may be the thing today, but is that going to be the same case 6 months from now? Or is it going to shift to the likes of Yelp or some other platform as these LLMs continue to form strategic partnerships to help inform customers? And then Karen touched on pricing transparency. This is a pain point for us, and I think for the industry too. What we don't want to have happen is customers just looking for the cheapest price, because there's so much kind of complexity and moving parts and different factors that weigh in on the cost associated with a new HVAC or even a repair. I mean, a lot of our businesses hesitate to even give quotes over the phone. They really want to get into the house and understand the issues before giving quotes. So this push for pricing transparency through Google, and then also with the LLMs kind of rewarding the businesses that do share that transparency, it's going to be an interesting interesting space to watch. And internally, we're trying to figure out how we navigate, and if we are going to share pricing details, in what format. And then, what we don't want to have happen is we share pricing, customers see it on our website, call in, we go out to quote them, and it ends up costing more than their quote unquote research. So that's just another training opportunity and something that we're going to have to work through with our techs who are in the house having those discussions with our customers. So that's kind of the piece that I wanted to talk to as it relates to how it impacts the customer journey on the front end, and things that our brands are keeping tabs on, and steps that we're taking now to try to stay ahead of this quick moving ball, so to speak. So that is all that I wanted to touch on at this point.
Thank you so much, Amanda. A lot to unpack there. I really like how you tied everything into a clean customer journey. I'll make two comments before I pass this off to Bubba. Number one, you mentioned, Amanda, about organic traffic decline. And this is a phenomenon that every single industry under the sun is experiencing due to the rise of consumers using tools like ChatGPT. And it's being coined something called zero-click marketing. I use ChatGPT. I say, who's good at AC repair in Dallas? ChatGPT sends a robot to your website and many other competitors' websites and pulls in information. Me, as a consumer, doesn't need to click. So organic traffic volumes are declining all over the place because of this zero-click marketing. And secondarily, with price transparency, this is such a touchy subject because historically, contractors have been coached not to present pricing online. That is an in-home consultation type of thing. But we're starting to see homeowners with technicians inside of the home price checking a technician using ChatGPT. How do we navigate this? These are all things Peakzi is focused on. I'm going to stop talking, though. I just wanted to comment on those 2 points. And I'm going to pass it to Bubba, the president of Baker Brothers. He's going to share for about 10 minutes on this subject, and I'll let you take it away, Bubba.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for having me today. Looking forward to the dialogue. I've already taken some notes from Karen and Amanda. I just kind of want to go through three levels. One is the journey with Google. I would say that, 13 years ago, there was a definite, trigger where you could go, and turn something up, PPC. And I know Gus will probably echo some of the same thoughts. I'm going to come at it from an angle slightly different than Amanda because marketing people are much smarter than me. And so I look at it from an operator standpoint. I've got guys in the parking lot. I'm trying to get them all three calls, and every meeting, the subject comes up. We need more calls. Like that's just a constant communication every single day. And so 13 years ago, okay, we could go in and make a phone call and spend money and literally walk over to the call center within the hour, and the phones would be ringing. We would see traction in specific trades. We could sell water heaters. We could push, unstops. We could move the business by simply going to Google and going, hey, we want to buy this, this much. And so we saw like a lot of movement in LSA. That was kind of the new shiny object as well. And so what we've recognized, at least at Baker, and I know I'm on text threads with a lot of different guys, Gus being one of them on the regular, just checking in, going, hey, how's your calls? And so I think all of us would agree that since 22, calls have been a challenge. Like, during COVID, it seemed very easy to get business. I think since 2022, we've faced headwinds. We've faced headwinds with the economy. We've had some weather issues that didn't drive demand calls like it has in the past. And so you kind of turn to the left and the right and you go, hey, how do we get calls? Where are they? And I definitely think there's been some changes at Google in terms of alignment. They've tightened up their integration between LSA and your Google business profile. The verification process over time has gotten more difficult in terms of if you want to have different locations. They verify that very tightly, whereas before you could open a small office pretty easy. And so the process has gotten more difficult. The return on investment has definitely gotten worse. LSA calls are very expensive. I think the only advantage that you can get in LSA is if you have a lot of reviews, if you have a high volume of reviews, you have responsiveness. And that's one of the things that you guys have already touched on. I think, how fast you respond to issues makes a big difference. And then, just having a complete profile out there. But we've noticed even before we kind of got the data from Peakzi, which, by the way, has been really phenomenal information for us to have. But even before that, I think we were feeling pressure around, hey, is Google still working? Like it felt like it was more difficult over time. And so the reality of AI is kind of what I'll transition to. Just being aware of the data, that there is a level of transparency that has not existed before because of what AI does. Your reputation is easily accessible to anybody, the good, the bad, and the ugly, or it's all out there. And so I think we have to make some changes around that because we're seeing it, the good and the bad. There's a lot of advantages to AI. We're in the middle of integrating LACE in our call center. We're talking about speed to lead stuff. I know Amanda mentioned that. And so there are some advantages to utilizing AI. We've seen a huge uptick just from using it in our online experience with, we've partnered with several people in Wrench, LACE being one of them. But the other thing, we've got ScheduleBot, and that's through Recreate. And you guys are all familiar that Jimmy, who is our former owner, is involved in that. And we've seen an increase in what AI can do to help us. And I think the thing that we have to all stop and look at just from an operational standpoint is where are the threats? And I think y'all have touched on them. I'm wrestling really hard with the pricing. Pawan and I discussed this last week. And, in regard to like literally there are some jobs that you go on that it could be 20 possible things. And so that is a challenge. But I will say we've had more calls in the last 2 months requesting price where people are just straight up demanding it. We want to know price. We've had We've had price requests for complete system replacements on a home, sight unseen. And so trying to navigate that is a challenge. Water heaters, that's not that risky to price. But I'll say, given a hard price, the risk you run is you show up and you can't do it for that, then that is not a good thing on your reputation, because then it looks like you just kind of did a bait and switch and it was going to be this much and now it's that much. But just kind of moving toward what do we do now? Like there's the diminishing return on Google. There's the awareness that has been brought to our attention through AI, and particularly in the home services space through you guys at Peakzi. And, as an operator, I get, kind of concerned around call volume all the time. But now, what do we control at the end of the day? We can't control the weather. We can't control the economy. We're not going to stop AI. So, what is our best path forward? For me, we generated a theme for the year, and it's every call, every customer, every day. And I touched on that at Certain Path recently. But the two things that I think we have to be obsessed with as operators is how we answer the phone and how we knock on the door. And what I mean is we have to be obsessed with being better than anybody. We've got to be really, really good every time we're in front of a customer, whether that's on the phone or whether it's performing the service in the house. And some of those things that, we talk about is how we show up has to be real. I don't want to create, a false sense of who we are and then get exposed because it's not who we really are. So I think this authenticity thing is a bigger deal than it's ever been, because there are calls that we can go get just by being great. We just were part of a market analysis, and some of that information was really, really powerful. But what I learned was that people who tell their family, friends, and neighbors still has a huge impact on the business. And I think what happened in the last 10 years is people got so Google reliant that, you forget, hey, what are other ways we connect with people? I think it's community involvement. I think it's, being of value to the communities that you serve. I think it is obviously providing the service at a level that they can't help but tell 10 people about. I'm reminded of the book Raving Fans. And so I think in terms of the messaging, one of the things that really struck me a while ago that you guys talked about, it's culture isn't what you say, it's how you show up in the home. And I think Karen said that. And that is a really, really powerful truth. Like our culture has to be real. It can't be, a fancy sign. It can't be the coolest looking truck or the best looking uniforms. It has to be the substance that we do what we say, that we're dependable, we're reliable. And I do think those things take a little bit of pressure off when you go, okay, price transparency. I think, can you communicate the value that we've been here for 80 years, that we're not going to abandon you, that we will make this right no matter what, and I think that is what AI has forced us to look at and go, and we can't hide behind, a logo. We can't even hide behind 80 years. The people who are using us today, that sounds really cool. And I'm appreciative of the legacy that we have, but they're going to care about what service they receive tomorrow. And that's how we're going to be judged. And so it's all these factors that you guys have already kind of alluded to that I think are going to be the difference maker in what's the path forward. I think the path forward is transparency, brand reputation, doing exactly what you said you will do, because Google's a challenge. That's not a secret. People have been talking about it for a little bit. AI is moving faster than I think any of us thought it would, and it's not going anywhere. And so we have to kind of go, hey, what do we do now? And I think we just have to really be focused on being the best and being who we say we are.
Thank you, Bubba. Very well put. I really like how you categorize the three levels, starting with like the spend on Google, get leads, talking about the reality of AI, how it can see the good, bad, and the ugly. Our CEO, Pawan, has this kind of little phrase he said on this subject that even if you have 10,000 Google reviews and you have 4.9 stars, AI can go into that 623rd review, cite that one negative customer experience and bring it front and center to a prospective customer. So how do we navigate that? And of course, talking about the threats of price transparency, all of that, just a really good message. So thank you very much. Last but not least, we'll pass it to Gus. Before I pass it to Gus, just to remind the audience, there is a question and answer section inside of the Zoom. So if you have any questions for these attendees, please start entering them in. That being said, pass it to Gus. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, guys. And I'm on the call to learn just as much as anything. And thank you guys for doing this. I going last here. I'm not. I kind of everything I had to say has been said, so I'll just reinforce some of it. I think if you talk to any operator, and I'm still an operator, founded this business over almost 25 years ago and run it today. We're here in Dallas, Fort Worth with Baker Brothers. And as you guys can hear, it's not fun competing against someone like Bubba and Baker Brothers every day because they're really good operators and do a great job. In this market, we've been here for 25 years. We have almost 40,000 4.9 Google reviews. We're in it every single day. We actually operate a couple of different brands, roofing companies and garage door companies. And so we get to see it from a lot of different perspectives. What I would tell you is if you're talking to anybody that's actually in it, what we'll all tell you is we don't know. We'll also tell you we don't like it. Everything about this AI thing, everything about ChatGPT, where all this is headed, transparency. If we could just go back to yellow pages and dial up phones, that would just be fantastic. So I think if you talk to any operator, if there's people listening to this and they just feel like, man, I don't know what to do, I bet there's somebody else out there that has like this magic bullet. I'll just encourage you guys, there isn't. We're all trying to figure it out. It's hard. And so I think sometimes that's just important to say because it can seem overwhelming. And a lot of the overwhelming is when you think somebody knows something that you don't. And so that's just not the case. So, and that's why it's important to be on phone calls and Zooms and different things like that, just trying to gather the information. Google has been a big part of our business ever since we started at 2000, early 2000s, right when Google came out. It's right when we kind of founded this business. And so we've always been a internet focused company. We've done yellow pages and the other stuff, but that was a big thing, and we were really on the cutting edge of that. And we went from having we've done it all. At one point, we had 100 different websites, and none of it was quote unquote illegal. And Google didn't even tell you back then, don't do it. We just did it. And then they came up with a policy of don't do it. And so they took down all of our websites. So for like 5 years, it was 3.5 years, we didn't even have a website that you could find. So I've been through it, all these different types of crazy things that happen. And so, and it's what Bubba said, it was organic listings, and then it was PPC, and then it was SEO, then it was map listings, and then it was, at some point LSA, and then PPC and Performance Max. I mean, just change and change and change and change. And so one of the points here that I'll just make is this, it is overwhelming and it's changing so fast, but things have always been changing. And it's what Bubba kind of shared there at the end, which is our job is just to change with it and control the controllables. But that's kind of always been the situation. And so, and we'll talk about a handful of different things that we're thinking about. I'll just kind of jump into the, AI. I'm going to, I had some notes, but they said everything that I was going to say. So I'm going to try to say some different stuff here. On the AI front, it's what Amanda said. It's the information that's out there. We're constantly scouring it. We're constantly typing into ChatGPT, what do you know about Milestone? And so we're looking everywhere up and down and kind of just focusing on what information can we put out there. She mentioned blogs. That's something that we're doing is let's tell the story that's actually right. Let's something that we're doing is, if Milestone has 40,000 Google reviews that are 4.9, why would there ever be a price complaint? If Milestone has that many, then why is this? And we're just answering those questions for it. So as it gathers information, we're kind of telling it what we want it to tell other people. Does that work? I have no idea. I mean, what we're all doing these days is we're looking at what's 10 yards in front of us and trying to do the best we can. I don't know that these 40,000 Google reviews are going to end up mattering. We spent the last 10 years gathering them all, and now it's all changing so fast. So you just do what's in front of you. But right now, what's in front of you is controlling the information that's out there, telling it what you want to say and stuff like that. Peakzi is, I'm not just saying that because this is y'all hosting it. I think anybody that's not using some type of platform to help them with this is crazy. It's just moving so fast. And we outsource a lot of things in our businesses. It's not whether it's cameras in your truck, whether it's a phone system, we outsource a lot of stuff. And the way that AI is moving, this is going to be something that we all end up, I believe, outsourcing how it's managed, what we look at, what we do. And so we're using Peakzi, speed to lead. Everyone's hearing about that. For anyone that hasn't heard that term, it's from the time that someone really clicks your website and then, hopefully makes a phone call or does a form fill, how fast are we responding to them? And so, we're something that we're working on a lot. We actually are voice agent first. We've been that way for about 2 months. So if you call in, you get a voice agent. If somebody wants to ask me if that's a good idea, I'll just tell you I have no idea. We're doing it. We're testing it. We believe that that's not going away. And so we just jumped in. We are privately owned, makes it a little bit different than Bubba and Amanda's situation where I'm like, well, if this gets totally screwed up, at least I know who to blame, which is myself. And so we are doing that. There's a lot of pros to it. People get on witch hunts on, well, the voice agent said this or did this wrong. And I get frustrated by that too. I also, you have to apply that same level of scrutiny to the human agents. And we have human agents that make tons of mistakes as well. They don't answer the phone sometimes. They get up from their desk. They do this. So we're tinkering with that. I don't have any great answers for everybody. Like that's something you should go do or not go do right away. But that is something with speed to lead that's very helpful. And so we're doing that. Everyone talks about Chat GBT and Peakzi knows a lot more about this. But Gemini, I believe, is still going to end up winning this AI battle. Because I, as a consumer, I go on ChatGPT and get information, but I end up going back to Google and typing in information. So Google, for at least right now, still has so much information and the attention. So I don't feel like, I think they're sitting around figuring out how they're not going to lose this. And so, Peakzi does a great job, and what Peakzi does and helps you do, and what we're doing is type into Gemini, what should we be doing if we want to rank better on LSA? What should we be doing? Ask it. It's literally has the answers to the test. So that's some of the stuff that we're doing. I'll kind of end it with the future. I have no idea. Like I said, I hate it all. This pricing transparency thing, I echo what Amanda and Bubba said. I don't see how it ends up being a good thing for the homeowner or the contractor. I think that it's going to be something that people roll out and probably don't have a great experience inside the home with. And eventually, at least that part is retracted from certain parts. I believe that pricing transparency is important and we are working on that. But I do think it's going to wind up where these reputable companies like us on this call are doing it differently because unfortunately the homeowner is going to get I need my HVAC system replaced, and some contractor is going to say, "Oh, I'll do it for $7,000." Well, then they're going to use that contractor. The contractor is either going to do it for 7,000, it's going to be a disaster, or they're going to get out there and try to sell it for more. And the homeowner eventually is going to be like, I'm just not doing that. And so but I think on certain things like drain cleaning and some stuff like that, we're going to have to compete on that. We're going to have to figure out what that is. And I know these LLMs or whatever they're called these days, they're not going to let it go. So on the pricing transparency, it's a wait and see, but do everything we can type thing. Yesterday I saw it was either yesterday, the day before, last week, whenever, that Google AI call mode, where it's going to call all the contractors for you. Have you guys seen this? I'm not sure if you guys saw it. I know Peakzi has, but I got the articles last night. Google agents you're gonna tell it you want a plumber on Wednesday at 10 for such and such service, and then it's going to call all the different companies, a voice agent, ask them their pricing, look at their reviews, and then find out availability, and then it's just going to book it for the homeowner. So, I mean, I hear that, and I just want to go get in another whole industry. But it is what it is. We're going to have to deal with it, and so you can't put your head in the sand. But just kind of to wrap it up here is everyone is fighting the same battle. And so I wouldn't go down the fear path of, you have three really good operators on here, and none of us are like, we know what to do. And so all of us are going to keep doing what we're doing the best we can. The homeowner is still going to have problems that they need fixed by good companies. And I do think that it's kind of a reorganization, especially for bigger companies that are not on top of this. It may dilute down to the some of the leads down to the smaller companies. And those smaller companies are going to have all the same problems that any of the bigger companies have. They have to have highly, and this is to Bubba's endpoint, the person at the end of the day that sends a great person inside of that great technician inside of the home that does what they say they're going to do at a fair price and knocks it out of the ballpark. That company is going to keep winning. They're going to keep navigating. I very rarely, almost ever, find a company who's operationally excellent and has a long-term marketing problem. um, I do find companies that are not operationally excellent that have long-term marketing problems because it's really hard to outrun that. But I think the companies that are operationally excellent, I mean, we have a marketing problem right now. I mean, Bubba and I talk about it. We're the same market. I don't know what to do. I just know that if we keep doing the right things, it's eventually going to work itself out. So I'll stop talking and uh, thank you guys.
Thank you very much, Gus. So much to unpack there. And if I had $1 for every time someone said to me on a call, if I can go back to the yellow pages, I'd probably have like $12, something like that. It's mentioned a lot. And even something so critical, you mentioned your business collectively has 40,000 Google reviews, but is that even going to matter? That is such a strong statement. And even on the reverse side of the coin, because we see that Google reviews do not get cited that much in systems like ChatGPT. So for the smaller contractors in the audience, think about that. The game is resetting, it's leveling out. Google reviews used to be the king piece of testimonials. Now they're not even getting cited in ChatGPT. What type of opportunity can that present your small to medium size home service business? And then lastly, thinking Gemini is going to win the AI battle. I think I disagree, but time will tell. Those big companies are going to battle each other, and then we just have to pay attention to that battle to see who's going to take the throne.
Well,
If
I,
you
I
will.
trust your opinion more than I trust mine.
Well, ChatGPT has like 900 million active users a week. Gemini's like 750. We're hearing about Claude, but someone just told me ChatGPT has more users in the state of Texas than Claude has across the world. So we just got to wait for that game to shake out. So that being said, thank you so much to all four of our speakers. Some really good points, a lot of synergies between everyone speaking in their different segments, a lot about price transparency. So there's one question in the chat, and all the audience keep feeding the questions. This is just titled for the panelists. Price transparency seems like it's more important now. I understand providing information on our website so AI can grab it, but what about when someone calls in? Would you recommend to still leave the pricing out of the conversation like we normally do and tell them that the tech will provide the quote, or should we provide pricing on the phone as well? Um, who would like to answer that question first?
It's hard, right? So I think most of our businesses would prefer to get the tech in the house, right? For the opportunity to sell. So but also, are those the types of customers that you want? And I would call that kind of the quote unquote bottom feeders who are just running down the list of Google business profiles, calling, asking for price. And then they may schedule an appointment and then you'll see them cancel it if they can get a cheaper price. So we're having a lot of, and the Peakzi team knows this, we're having a lot of internal discussions around pricing and how, if we start conveying pricing either on our website or over the phone, how we do it and how vague can we be in doing it. But we don't really like where this is going, right? So that's kind of our stance at this point, but we may not have a choice down
And
the
that's a
road.
good and that's a good point, Amanda, because what we're seeing too, and I think that's for years everyone has been we've been keep pricing private. You know, you get the tech in the home, that's how you do that. Now it kind of switched when Google started asking homeowners for quotes and giving that information to Google directly. What was mentioned just a minute ago about pricing being like going ahead and booking services. And I understand, like, from a perspective where I have been in the field and ran jobs and have been in the same situation as that, where you can walk in and it can be something completely different. Um, but it's to the point where it's going to be booked. Someone's going to be booking a call. They're not, maybe not even call it in. They're just going to ChatGPT, go ahead and book it. And it's leading in that direction is what we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, our highest cancellation rates a lot of times are coming from LSA because that's exactly what's happening. People are just trying to find the cheapest price.
Yeah, I'm with everybody else on this. It's you do the best you can. We do everything we can to not give a price, and we try to really explain the homeowner why that's not good for them. Um, but if we absolutely have to, we'll give a price, a range, and and so it's this whole thing's very interesting because all of these engines and everything want to make this into a black and white situation, and our industry is so far from it. I mean, it's just so far from black and white. But um, I do think there's going to be certain services that are somewhat black and white that we're going to all end up having to quote price on.
Yeah, I agree. We had the meeting Monday, and I asked my leadership team, "Hey, what would you guys feel comfortable with quoting over the phone?" Like, so we're just trying to generate a list. It was our kind of first stab at it, but I think it's hard because you want to be authentic at the same time, and it's a kind of a double edged sword. I mean, we're not they're not ordering a 3-piece chicken dinner. I mean, there's a million options that you want to be honest, but then you get in the home. I mean, it's almost most of the time without diagnosis, it's almost impossible to give a real price. You risk either losing your tail or overcharging, one of the two. But to get spot on over the phone, there's a lot of luck involved in that.
Well, and it's an interesting dynamic, right? Like the more home services companies and founders hold their ground on prices and not giving prices, like we will, and this is kind of counterintuitive to what the LLMs are, but if we decide collectively as a group, like we're not going to give pricing over the phone, aside from Google asking for pricing reviews, it's like you're kind of training the customers on what to expect, right? So the more that give in and give those prices over the phone, the more they're collectively hurting the group, if that makes sense. So it's yeah, I don't know, it's a slippery slope.
It's a I go back to for 25 years. I've been doing this exact same thing. I used to take the phone calls. People wanted price 25 years ago. People want price today. But if I got myself was having a contractor out to my house, because I've had so many people out here over the years, I never expect anyone to give me a price because that's not just based on my industry. It's just based on my experience. So I think it's going to go through that same morph, but I do think again we have to play the game to get the leads. Um, but I do think that people's expectation will continue to go down. People's always have an expectation of wanting price, and so that's not going away. Now we're going to attempt to give it to the same thing that you said. Understand? Come out if
Gus, can you repeat the last 30 seconds of that because the audio went in and out? I apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying, I think that for 25 years that I've been doing this, people have been wanting price over the phone. Those same people that wanted it 25 years ago, once they have home services out to their home, they realize you really can't do that. So the people that want it right now, we have to play the game. But I think 20 years from now, those people will be like, contractors can't give prices over the phone. That doesn't help anything today. And I think we all have to play the game. And
Yep.
again, I'm talking in circles because I really don't know what to expect.
Well, here's another question on the subject, and this is a tough question. Um, and I have a take on this as well, but I'll give it to the audience. Companies who aren't premium priced, who provide low pricing, might be recommended by AI search if a customer is looking for the lowest price option. How do the premium price companies counter this? Anyone have a take on that? That is a tough question. So whoever asked that, good job.
Well, I think it's the same thing that I'll jump in on it. I think it's the same thing that we already do. You know, we already all compete on tune-ups and like the price that we sell a tune-up for or drain cleaning. And then you get out there and you try to win the customer over. But that's really, I mean, unless Bubba or Amanda have a different opinion, I don't see another way around that of because if somebody needs a electrician, a lot of times you're getting a phone call that's I need an electrician to come out because I need a ceiling fan hung, I need a circuit for my hot tub done, and I need this other thing. And we're talking, and no, they don't expect a price. But there are certain things that are just cut and dry, and those are the things that we have to compete on to get out to the home like a lost leader almost. Bubba, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think it goes back to me to the triangle. Like you can't do all three things. You can't be fast and do high quality and be cheap. And so I think the path that we've probably all chosen here is quality and speed of service. And I do think that just takes us out. There are guys that would say they want to be Walmart of home service. And I just I don't think that's how we want to run our business. And so the answer I would have is I'm really not going to compete against the cheapest guys. And
And it's
that's
a
the
value
challenge is,
story.
yeah, yes.
Value story, exactly. The way, I mean, I was going to give my own answer to this, but what you said, Bubba, about the triangle, you can't have all three. You can't be fast, high quality, and the cheapest. That is exactly true. But what I think we all need to collectively do is communicate that information to the engines that need to see it. I am the highest quality and I'm fast. I'm same day, but I'm not cheap. AI doesn't know that unless you spell it out in content, like everyone's mentioned, FAQs, blogs, other things. But I really like the way you put that. So the next question here, and this is going to start tying into, we have a couple call center related questions. So someone asked, how are you training your CSRs and technicians to navigate a conversation where the homeowner has used AI stating that they received an underestimated quote. Pretty much, how are your CSRs tackling price transparency conversations on the phone? That's how I read that.
We haven't really had to tackle that yet because we're not giving those prices over the phone.
Exactly.
Mm.
You
So,
for and I don't know if AI knows this. I don't know if anyone knows it. You can't give an estimate for over like $1,500 over the phone because when it gets to that price point, there's just so many. I mean, maybe a water heater, but outside of that, it's just you can't do it. Now we may be getting to the point. I've seen a bunch of demos where people video everything and then send it to you, and then at that point, you're having like a sales. We do have people that sell stuff over the phone, but it's not through an engine giving them that, if that makes sense.
mhm. Makes
We did
total
that
sense.
last week, Gus. We had a homeowner send us all the data on a unit. I don't know if we sold it or not. I haven't gotten an update yet. It was kind of a trial. I was like, well, let's try to see what happens. I
Yeah.
mean, but they did. They sent, even the ductwork, I mean, it's real detailed, but that was kind of frightening.
But but
The whole experience.
I mean, I'll give this one example of a customer that told me that they had someone call in. They did not give them pricing over the phone, and then immediately went and left them a 1-star review. And so part of that, what you are discussing is very much real, but I think you have to take control of some of that narrative and give some of that pricing out because the consumers are getting so much information so quickly and it's so transparent. And I think that's going to change um, very quickly of who gives some pricing and how you do that and give some information about your company. And I think that's where consumers are pushing it to.
And we agree. I know we all agree with that.
Yeah.
Mhm. I got a question from our friend Deborah Chandler from Big Family Electric. This is a question for Gus, but anyone else is welcome to answer it. Do you still have live call takers or have you converted to all AI call takers? So maybe kind of unpack your AI first or your call center processing using those agents.
I think Gus might be
Is Gus
frozen.
froze?
Little
Yeah.
muted. Bubba, you mentioned using Lace,
Yeah.
so you can.
Yeah, we've
Sorry,
integrated. We go
sorry.
live next week, but we're live call first. We use AI in the background if overflow happens or after hours. And
Gotcha.
hi Deborah.
And go ahead, Gus.
Yeah, I'm back. Uh, yes, we still have a big team of people that sits right behind the AI. Um, and so for us, it's increased booking percentage because it allows our live people to have more meaningful conversations. And so that's where there's a narrative, this whole other conversation, there's a narrative of, well, AI is going to take all these jobs. I don't know if that's true. It is going to, but specifically in our contact center, if you're paying somebody 50 or $60,000 a year, but half of their time is going towards things that AI agent can do, well, it frees up the rest of their, if that's a way, I can have that person just calling out on old estimates, having meaningful conversations, rebooking. And so it actually makes that person's time more valuable to me. And so, but yes, we have a whole team of people that sits right behind it. We monitor it. If we drop a call or an abandon, we immediately call that person. And so, we're trying. So far, I would say it's working, but there's people that do not like it. I mean, there's longtime customers that are not happy about it. So it's pretty choppy waters.
Mhm.
Right now we use it for overflow and nights and weekends. And we did get some resistance from our GMs, but our point was like, this is where not only the industry is going, but this is kind of our future, right? And once we have rolled it out, everyone has been very positive overall because I think, Gus, either to your point or to Bubba's points, the booking rates are higher, the attribution and service titan is correct. Like we're not missing calls, right? 100% of our calls in theory now are answered. And I think it's just, especially now with what Service Titan is doing with all of their pro products, it's going to become more and more automated, from answering calls to even dispatching. And it takes out the bias on both fronts, on how the calls are handled and then how those jobs are dispatched. So the question is how quickly, right? Like, how quickly are we going to get there? I think it's going to be faster than any of us realize.
Yeah. And on that, I was talking to our team about that. I like live people. I would tell you I don't like AI. And I would assume, Amanda, you and Bubba probably feel the same way, right? Like, if you called in, you want to talk to a live person.
Sure.
But let me ask you this.
I appreciate not waiting on hold for 5 minutes.
Yeah, but let me ask you this. We all like talking to live people in a service industry. If you're sitting in Philadelphia and you're flying Delta or American Airlines and you need a flight change, do you want to call their 1-800 number and talk to a live person, or do you just want to go on their app and click their button and get it changed?
Yeah, exactly. The
Well,
latter.
we want the American Airlines. I like the American Airlines app. Even if I got a live person that right when I call American, they pick up, I would rather use the app because I see it all and it's easier. Well, people don't really want humans. They want the path of least resistance. And right now, we just associate that with a human because of all the bad experiences we've had from digital phone trees and stuff like that. But man, that's changing so quick. And all of us are going to, 2 years from now, all of us will be adapted, and I think the world will be adapted. So that's what we're trying to work on, is just that type of stuff. But it's incredible what the voice agents do. It takes a lot of work too. I would just tell anybody that's listening, it's not a plug it in and forget it and it just works in the background. I mean, you are managing it all the time, saying, what are you saying? Why you say that? Don't say that again. Do this, do that. But so
I recognize we are a little bit over time. We still have most of our audience with us and a couple more questions. Do we panelists have maybe a couple more minutes to answer these questions?
sure.
Thank
Yes.
you so much. Amanda, this is targeted for you. Are you using ZyraTalk for the AI answer service?
We are not. We are using Broccoli.
Broccoli, nice.
And we're also using Broccoli we're testing speed to lead with them.
Excellent. Back to the price transparency from Alan Stewart. How can you separate the expectation of price transparency from charging a fee for the quotation as well as the service? I'll put that into the answered section so everyone can see.
Yeah, we only charge a fee if you don't do the work. The fee goes toward the service if we do the work. Not sure that's the exact answer, but that's kind of practically how we do that.
Yeah, only charge a dispatch fee or diagnostic fee if you don't do the work, but you dispatch a technician to give some sort of estimate or some consultation.
Yeah, if they go out for an estimate and do the work, then that's applied. For us, it's $59.
Understood. Okay, last question for the panelists. So it is sounding like we should be training AI to not be asking for a price. And to Amanda's point, refuse to be online pricing. I'm putting it into the answered column so everyone can see.
I mean, that sounds like a great idea. Now, whether that's even capable with Google forcing people to leave price ranges when they write their reviews, but it's more so what can we control as it relates to putting prices on our website, giving quotes over the phone, those types of things.
Yes, I absolutely think you take the power back by controlling some of that narrative and putting out information that AI will think positively about your company, about price transparency. I don't think we can completely eliminate that.
Yeah, the AI, that all of it is built around making it the easiest thing. That's what Amazon did. is they built an entire thing and said, what is the absolute easiest thing for the end user? And that's what AI associates with giving price transparency. It's people want to know how fast can you get here and how much is it going to be and can you do what I need you to do? And they want those three questions answered immediately. So now the AI engines are doing everything that they can to do that, and it's never going to stop. It's like the Terminator on the term. He's never going to stop. They're going to continue to always be trying to figure out how do we get price? How do we get price? Because we can tell you when we're going to get there generally, and we can tell you what we can and can't do. None of us have figured out over the phone or in no contractor has figured out a good way of giving price over the phone, or else we would all be doing it. Like if I could do that and Bubba's company couldn't, that would give me a huge competitive edge. I just can't
Mhm.
figure out how to do it where it's a win-win-win for the our team member, our customer, and our company. And people have been tinkering with this. I mean, people are acting like price transparency is new. It's now new because of the people are using something that values it. But Bubba, I know Amanda probably both have seen all these companies that have been like, we'll price your HVAC system over the phone before we ever come out there. Ship direct to you, all that. They
Yeah.
spend a whole bunch of money on marketing, then they go out of business because
Yeah.
no one can figure out how to do it. I would love to give a price before we ever go out there, save us all a bunch of time, energy, and effort. I mean, that'd be great. So
I think too, there's another issue with pricing, like just the simple thing that we all have in our house is a toilet. I mean, does that include supply lines? Is that a new wax ring? I mean, there's all kind of options, and so you could go, yeah, I can put you a white oval toilet, but Gus may have a different price. Is it all in? Is it not all in? So if you said how much for a toilet, that's a loaded question. I mean, there's a lot of factors. That's one job. I mean, there's thousands of SKUs, especially in plumbing, where you're going to run into, there's going to be variations in how each company answers that question. And if I answer it cheap and then I show up and I upsell you supply lines and a wax ring, then am I being honest about price? It's kind of a catch 22. Definitely is going to be some wrestling around that part of it.
Well,
yeah,
if Pawan and AJ are listening to the webinar, we just found our next problem to solve. How can we effectively give pricing over the phone where the customer wins, the company wins, and everyone wins? Um, so I think that's about it. Very interesting. This webinar was Google versus AI, and it really turned into price transparency, which totally is interweaving into both of these systems. So I just want to say, number one, thank you to all of our panelists who were gracious enough to give us an hour plus of their day to talk about this. Thank you to all the attendees. I hope you found this valuable. This webinar has been recorded. For a couple questions we weren't able to answer, we'll answer them individually to you. And we will be doing this webinar series once a month. Next one will be specifically around roofing home service businesses. But again, just want to say thank you for your time, and we hope to see you at the next webinar coming up.